Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Well, I want to thank all those seniors, but I want to thank all the young people. I've never seen so many young people in my life. And I want to say a special hello to Phoenix. We had a big win in Phoenix and a big win in Arizona and a big win all over the country. I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Arizona with the hardworking, God-fearing patriots of Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA. 7 months ago, our country lost a fearless warrior, my friend, for freedom, and he was just an amazing man. He was an amazing person. Charlie Kirk, just an amazing guy. Charlie was murdered by a cruel and vicious assassin who believed that by silencing his voice, he could kill an entire giant movement. But standing here today, it's clear to see that Charlie's voice is not silenced, it's roaring and roaring back, louder, frankly, than ever before. His message is unstoppable. His mission is totally unstoppable, and his movement is forget it. It's not going to happen any other way but success. It's amazing what he's done. He was such a great friend of mine. We talked all the time. We'd speak all the time. Talked about politics. We talked about God. We talked about everything you can talk about. He was a special person, and I want to just thank Erica. She was put into a rough situation. Don't kid yourself. That's a rough situation. Those people think it's easy. I told her, not so easy, Erica. But she loved that man more than anything else, and she's done a really terrific job. I want to thank her on behalf of all of us. Because together we're making America great again, and this November we're going to win the midterms. We're going to win, and we're going to win like never before. For some reason, even if you have a great presidency, if you haven't, I don't think there's been one like this. And we have some good news I'll tell you about a little. Would anybody like to hear about Iran a little bit? You know, this was scheduled a long time ago, and I said, let's not do any media for a little while. Here I am. This is sort of interesting. They're all waiting. Look at all the fake news back there. It's unbelievable. We could fill this place up 4 times. Would anybody like to give up your seat? Allow somebody to, but it's really been an incredible period of time, and I'll tell you about it. But in 2024, Turning Point's grassroots army helped us win Arizona in an absolute landslide. We won We won all 7 swing states. We won the Electoral College 312 to 226. We won the popular vote by millions of votes, and we won, and that's the first time in decades that a Republican, I don't know what that's all about, won the popular vote, but we won by a lot. We won 86% of all counties. Now think of that. Counties, to me, that's the biggest of all, most important of all. 86% of all counties in America, 2,700 to 525. That's called a landslide. And I want to thank everybody at Turning Point Action who's working tirelessly to help us get out the vote this November 3rd. And I especially want to thank all of the executives and Erica Kirk in particular. Thank you. This will be a great and brilliant day for the world, because Iran has just announced that the Strait of Hormuz is fully open and ready for business and full passage. But the naval blockade, with the greatest navy in the world, from the greatest military the world has ever seen, we built it. During my first term, we built it. They said I was crazy. We weren't so crazy, were we? Will remain in full force and effect as it pertains to Iran until such time as our transaction with Iran is 100% complete and fully signed. And this process, we're getting along well, but who knows with anyone, but who knows with Iran in particular. This process should go very quickly, and that most of the points are already negotiated and agreed to. You'll be very happy. The USA will get all nuclear dust. You know what the nuclear dust is? That was that white powdery substance created by our B-2 bombers, those great B-2 bombers, late one evening, 7 months ago. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. Iran will be, and you know how we're going to get the dust, right? Iran, we were going to take it anyway, but taking it that way is slightly more dangerous, but we were going to get it anyway. But Iran, with the help of the USA, has removed or is removing all of the sea mines, and most importantly, it never agreed, and you'll understand, they will never have a nuclear weapon. They will never have a nuclear weapon. And somebody said, how are we going to get the nuclear dust? We're going to get it by going in with Iran, with lots of excavators, because the B-2s, remember when fake news CNN said, well, maybe obliteration is too strong a word, obliteration. That's so deep. We need the biggest excavators you can imagine, but we're going to go in together with Iran, we're going to get it, and we're going to take it back home to the USA. Very simple. And now that the Hormuz Strait situation is almost over, I received a call from NATO asking if we would like some help. Thank you very much, NATO. And I told them I would have liked your help 2 months ago, but now I really don't want your help anymore. Because they were absolutely useless when we needed them. But actually, we never needed them. They needed us. They need us. They need us so badly. You know, it's a little bit like if you're a politician. It's hard to believe I'm a politician, but after I won, people came up to me, sir, I'd like to make a major contribution to your campaign. And I said, listen, just so you understand, campaign contributions after I won don't count. Okay? They don't count. And NATO after we won, that doesn't count either. It's the same thing. But you have to remember that because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year. We spend money. We spend, I would say, in many cases, close to $1 trillion over a couple of years, $1 trillion to help them. And we're always helping them. And this was just a military excursion. This isn't the big time. You know, we built a military so great. I'm so proud of it. It's one of the, including Space Force. You know, you see all of that. When you see those rockets go one, look up there, there's Space Force. We all created Space Force. Didn't exist. We were losing to China and to Russia in space, and now we're so far ahead of them both, you wouldn't believe it. But yesterday, on top of it all, we achieved what everyone said was impossible, an unprecedented ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and that hasn't taken place in 78 years. 78 years. Our deal with Iran is not in any way tied to Lebanon, but we will make Lebanon great again. I mean, it's about time we've sort of, the world has forgotten them, and they're good people who have lived like hell for a long period of time, and hopefully the situation with Hezbollah will get straightened out quickly. But I want to thank the country of Pakistan and its great prime minister and its great field marshal. He's our great field marshal. Two fantastic people for helping. They really are terrific people. And I also want to thank Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. They've been amazing. They've all helped tremendously, tremendously. And it took courage for them. Not easy, not easy. They were living with what they call the bully of the Middle East. They had the bully. Iran was the bully of the Middle East. They're not the bully anymore. With the help of everyone here today, this has been by far the most successful first year of any administration in the history of our country, acknowledged by everybody. To begin with, I ended 8 wars, and it may be a little early to say this, but if we add Iran and Lebanon, that will be 10 wars ended and many, many millions of lives saved. Think of how many lives we've saved. Starting on day one, we ended the illegal invasion of America. That's an invasion by criminals, many, many criminals, murderers, drug dealers, prisoners. They emptied out their prisons into our country. And we took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border and created the most secure border in U.S. history, one of the most secure borders anywhere in the world, with 0 illegal aliens coming into our country in the past 11 months. 0. And in 2025, we achieved the largest drop in violent crime ever recorded. That's despite all of these people that came into our country. Many of them are now gone, I'm pleased to tell you. The murder rate, isn't it a terrible thing to be talking about murder? But you got to say it. At least if it's good news, I guess it's good news. But the murder rate reached the lowest level in over 125 years. 1900. The year 1900, before my father was born. My father was great. Before he was born, the flow of deadly fentanyl pouring across our border is down by an astounding 59%. And as you probably noticed, if you watch the news, illegal drugs coming in by ocean or sea are down by 97%. 97. Boom, boom, boom. And we're trying to find out who the 3% is, because I consider them to be perhaps the bravest people anywhere in the world. Boom. Or they don't watch television or something. We passed the largest tax cuts in American history, the largest spending cuts in American history, the largest regulation cuts in American history, and the largest investment in border security in the history of our country. And starting my first day in office, we banned the transgender mutilization of our children. And we made it the official policy of the United States of America that there are only 2 genders, male and female. That was easy. Could you imagine if I was up here 20 years ago or 15 years ago, probably 12 years ago, and I said there are only 2 genders, male and female? People would say, what the hell is he saying that for? Is he crazy? That's got to be the worst speech I've ever heard. Why is he saying that? Or why is he saying that we got men out of women's sports? Can you imagine saying that 15 years ago? 15 years ago, if you said, and we got men out of women's sports, the audience would say, what's wrong with that guy? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And we got critical race theory out of our schools. And we abolished DEI across the entire federal government. And we eliminated so-called affirmative action in federal contracting and university admissions. If you get great marks and have great scores, and your boards are good, everything is good, you're getting in. People can't go before. We have a country now that, again, is based on merit. That's the way we became great. But we have to win the midterms, and all of these things, it'll stay with us forever. But if we don't win the midterms, I said it during my State of the Union speech when I interviewed and talked to some people backstage. I said, I'd like to have some of these people called out for their greatness. And we gave out, as you know, that night, the Congressional Medal of Honor to a young man who was flying a helicopter with practically his legs shot off. And he landed in Venezuela perfectly with a lot of men on board, like 48. And if that goes down, the Venezuela incredible attack, nobody killed, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil taken out. The relationship with Venezuela is great. We're working, it's like a great partnership. But if that doesn't happen, we looked at the Democrats, not one was clapping. Medal of Honor. Then we interviewed a mother, a beautiful mother, whose daughter was slashed from behind by a maniac. She could hardly stand. It was 8 months ago. She could hardly stand, crying uncontrollably. Not one Democrat was clapping. Then we introduced a war hero from 100 years. He was 101 years old. Gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor for his great heroics. Wasn't recognized until I came along. Not one Democrat clapped. Not one Democrat clapped. And now they don't want to pay our border security, and they don't want to pay our great patriots of ICE. You know, ICE is a tough job. You got those murders that they allowed into our country. Think of it. Thousands of murders came into our country. 11,888, 50% of whom killed more than one person. These are violent criminals, and ICE is tough. And I don't want that job, and most of you don't either. I have a couple of friends in the front row, and they're tough people, but they're not that tough. They don't want that job. And if we don't have ICE, and if we don't have our great Border Patrol, and if we don't have our great policemen, and all of these people, they're incredible. They keep our country great. They keep our country safe. And the Democrats want to defund them. They want to defund ICE. They want ICE terminated. And you know, whether you're liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, independent, it's crazy. And I looked at them as we went through about 7 moments when you had to clap, and they did, and I said, these people are crazy. They're crazy. And you know, I don't know if you noticed, the word was passed to them from people that were watching, I guess, on television, maybe standing backstage. They said, this guy is killing you. Start clapping. And the last half hour, they were clapping for everything I said. They were clapping for everything, things they shouldn't have been clapping for, because they heard they were getting killed. Just remember that night. That night was a very telling night. And we don't want to go back to that. We don't want open borders where millions of people pour into our country. We want to have safe borders. We want people coming into our country, but they want to come in, and we have to have them come in legally. Very simple. So I signed a historic executive order starting the process of shutting down the Federal Department of Education and sending education back to the states. Thank you, Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon. You know, education, move back to the states where it should be. You don't want to have a bureaucrat from Washington who couldn't care less about your community telling you how to educate your child. You have your local boards and your parent groups. One thing, I know you love your children. I'm not sure that they do. But we've largely removed education. We just did it. Just move them back. You know, we're supposed to go through a long process. Thank you, by the way, to Linda McMahon. She's been fantastic. Been fantastic. And we removed over 300,000 bureaucrats from federal payrolls. They had sometimes 10, 11, 12 people to do one job, and they just sit there. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for whatever. But you can't run a country like that. You can't, as the expression goes, has anyone ever heard of it? Make America great again? You can't make America great again when you do that. So we've done that, and you know, many of those people are very happy because right now more people are working in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. And many of those people that had these boring, lousy jobs where They weren't even jobs. The federal government, they went out, they got jobs in the private sector because we have the most people working that we've ever had before. And they're making more money and enjoying their job. It's sort of an amazing phenomenon. After decades of other countries stealing our jobs and plundering our wealth, thanks to our strong policy on tariffs, we cut our gaping trade deficit. Now, if you do 1%, you're considered like a genius. If you do 2 or 3%, it's unheard of. We cut it by 59% this year, our trade gap. It's the largest drop of a trade gap. Think of it. It's the largest drop in history, the history of our country. 59%. Can you believe it? So if you're a genius with 1% and really a super genius at 3, what are you with 59? I don't know. As part of our tax cuts, we delivered, a lot of you benefited by this, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. You know, the great big beautiful bill is really the great big beautiful tax cut bill, but it was also, we gave you the right to deduct your interest payments on a car loan, but only if it's made in the USA. That's been incredible. You never had that right before. And this week, millions of Americans received the largest tax refunds of their lives. The average is more than $4,000 per filer. Think of that. So nobody knew this was going to happen, but now they're getting their refunds back, and they're much larger than I said. In other words, I under-exaggerated, which is good. And in 4 long years, Sleepy Joe Biden, have you heard of him? What a president, what a disaster. But the whole party, it was the party. He didn't run the country. The people surrounding the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, they ran the party. Radical left lunatics. But in 4 long years, Sleepy Joe Biden got less than $1 trillion invested in our country, much less. And in 12 months, so think of it, 4 years, ours is 12 months, and it's actually 11 because we haven't gotten the last month. So in 11 months versus, think of that, versus 4 years, they did less than $1 trillion. In 11 months, we did $18 trillion of new investments coming into our country. And that's a record for any country anywhere in the world by a lot. And the king of Saudi Arabia told me when I was in Saudi Arabia, they invested $2 trillion in our country. But he looked at me, he said, you know, Mr. President, a short time ago, we viewed the United States as a dead country. We thought it was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And he's right, the hottest country anywhere in the world. For years before I took office, people thought that America was in decline, that our best days were in the past, and that the sun was setting on American power. But no one thinks that anymore, because we are indeed the strongest, the hottest, the best country anywhere in the world. And you know what? Nobody laughs at us anymore. They were laughing. They thought we were a laughing mess. Under this administration, America is on the march, and America is on the rise like we haven't seen maybe ever before. We are respected again as a country, and we're respected at levels that nobody thought possible. Unlike past leaders, this administration does not apologize for American power. We are not ashamed of American might, and we do not hesitate to defend the American people, which is what we've been doing for the last 2 months, because Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. For years, we were ruled by fools who let every third-rate country push us around and bleed us dry on trade and everything else they could get away with. They took advantage of us on trade, not any more than that. But those days are over, and they're gone forever. America was not founded by weak and timid men who cowered in the face of evil or sat by as danger loomed and let our country go to hell. We are descended from the likes of George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Generals Ulysses S. Grant, Douglas MacArthur, General George Patton. Our ancestors knew exactly what to do with America's enemies. Beat them and beat them good. That's what they had to do. That's what they had to do. And if NATO teaches us any one thing, and I hope you all watched, because they weren't there for us, if it teaches us any one thing, we have to rely on ourselves. We can't rely on outside countries and outside sources. So do not listen to the craven and cowardly voices who tell you America needs to think small or to shrink from our duties or potential. Most people, they wanted to, this recent situation, they wanted to do it, but they said, oh, let's not get involved. Sometimes you have to get involved. You have no choice but to get involved. If you're going to remain great, sometimes you have to get involved. Remember, I'm the peacemaker. I'm the one that settled 8 wars. I settled a war that would have killed 30 to 50 million people. India, Pakistan. You have to sometimes get involved. We are the inheritors of the most incredible civilization that has ever existed, and our task is to defend it. We have to defend it. Past leaders used our wealth and power to make other countries rich and treated our military like a charity for the world while getting barely a word of thanks in return. Nobody thanks us. They don't say, oh, thank you so much. They don't thank us. They think we're stupid. That's really what it is. They don't thank us. Now, we're using American strength to advance American interests for American citizens and to ensure that we remain the most dominant country on the face of the earth, which we're doing at levels that nobody can believe, actually. Every branch of our armed forces is setting new recruitment records that nobody thought would be possible because everyone wants to be a part of the greatest military the world has ever seen. In January, our warriors flew straight into the heart of the Venezuelan capital, captured the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro, and brought him to face American justice, which is what he's doing right now. And very soon, this great strength will also bring about a day, 70 years in waiting. It's called A New Dawn for Cuba. We're going to help them out with Cuba. We have a lot of great Cuban Americans. Not too many people in this audience, I don't think, but you go to Miami, we have people, Cuban Americans, people that were brutally treated, whose families were killed and brutalized. And now, watch what happens. Under this governing philosophy, instead of locking down our energy resources and putting ourselves at the mercy of those that hate us, and they hate us, and they don't respect us, but they do now, we are unleashing our own supplies with those really beautiful words. Perhaps you've heard them before. Drill, baby, drill, right? And because of that, we now produce more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined, and very soon that number will more than double. That's pretty good. In addition, our new partner, Venezuela. Venezuela's been great, really doing a good job over there, is adding very substantially to that number. Likewise, instead of using our wealth to throw open our borders and feed, house, clothe, and police the entire world, we're restoring the principle that America's immigration policies must serve the best interests of America and its great citizens. It's called America First. It's very simple. America First. And we'll help other countries, but we have to view it as America First. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country left. At this moment, Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security to shield the world's most heinous and violent criminals from deportation. They want to keep them in our country. They have a murderer, killed many people. They want to keep him in our country. They're fighting very hard to keep him here. There's something, I'm telling you, there's something wrong with these people. They want to protect deranged monsters like the illegal alien from Haiti who recently beat a mother of two to death with a hammer at a Florida gas station for all to see. It was all on tape. You saw it just a week ago. Last month, a migrant criminal with 15 prior charges and 4 prior deportations threw an 83-year-old veteran onto the subway tracks in New York City, killing him instantly as he got run over by a subway train. Threw him in. It's all on tape. Democrats want to protect him. They want to protect criminal aliens. Republicans want to put them in jail or ideally deport them as long as they never come back. And under my leadership, we ended asylum fraud. We ended all catch and release. We stopped third world migration. We suspended all refugee resettlement except for persecuted South Africans. They're being persecuted. In South Africa, there's a very horrible thing going on in South Africa. It's a genocide. It's a horrible thing. And we made it possible for these people to come into our country. They kill people if they're white, if you're a white person. And I'll tell you what, I did great with the black vote, the African American vote, and they understand this better than anybody. South Africa, they kill white farmers. And we said, you come into our country and we let you come in. You get a green card and you get a passport. You can stay in our country. Terrible. Terrible. We can't let it go on. No, we don't have to talk about it. People don't like talking about it. You know, New York Times wrote a story about it years ago. That was the only story they ever wrote, because I'm sure the reporter got fired immediately. But we've deported a record number of criminal aliens, a record. Nobody's ever seen the numbers like this. And for the first time in more than 50 years, we now have reverse migration, a beautiful thing, actually. And just imagine where our country would be today if instead of spending trillions of dollars on illegal migrants who come into our country illegally and spending it on the Green New Scam, one of the greatest scams in history, remember? Climate change, global warming, all of this. They actually had global warming. Remember that wasn't working because we were actually cooling as a planet. Then they had another one and another one and another one, and they were wrong. And then they just said, climate change, because climate change takes care of heat, snow, whatever you have. But past leaders had used American wealth and power to raise our civilization to brand new heights. This is the choice for every voter. In the midterms, Democrats want to drag America down, destroy our country, put it into crime, poverty, and squalor. Really the squalor of a third world nation. We would have been, if I didn't win this election, within a short period of time, we would have been a third world nation. Hard to believe, isn't it, huh? Republicans want to build America up into a nation with no rivals in human history, to make your family safer and wealthier than ever before. We're making your family safe. We're making you safe. So if you want a poor and weak America, a country that's riddled with crime and death, disease, and nothing but problems, you should immediately vote Democrat. If you want a rich and strong and a country that you're going to be proud of, America, you must go out in the midterms and vote Republican. We need that. And I was going to say that when a president wins, Republican or Democrat, for some reason they lose the midterms often, most of the time. It doesn't make sense. Even if you have a president who's doing a good job, and I think I'm doing the best job of anybody, really I do. When you add it all up, nobody's done what we've done. But for some reason, a president, Republican, Democrat, the party does poorly in the midterms. It doesn't make sense. I'm still trying to figure it out. We'll go out, I think probably hire a couple of psychiatrists. What the hell is going on in your mind? How does that happen? Because it should be the opposite. We're doing well. We're doing our job. We're ending wars all over the place. By the way, with the exception of our little excursion, and wait till you see prices fall. Did you see oil is down today and prices are down today? But we inherited the highest prices in the history of our country. We inherited that, and then we worked on it, and what a job we've done, and we took inflation way down. We inherited the worst inflation in history, and what a job. But we had to put out that flame. We had to put out that horrible fire, really, that was taking place in Iran. We had to do it. Otherwise, you want to see a problem? Give them a nuclear weapon. They'd use it the first day. You want to see a problem? They would use it the first day. It's not going to happen. So we're thrilled to be joined today by many incredible Arizona leaders who will help achieve this victory, including candidates for Congress, a lot of great athletes running. I don't know what this is. Jay Feely, great kicker, great athlete. Where's Jay? Jay Feely. Where's Jay? Wherever you are, Jay. Hi, Jay. Great athletes. A sheriff who I've been friends with for a long time, Sheriff Mark Lamb. Sheriff. Good to see you, Sheriff. Got the look, right? I want to get one of those hats, Sheriff. Tell me where. Tell me where you got it. Wouldn't have to worry about my hair. I could just put that. I hear you're doing great in the polls, Sheriff, too. Representatives Juan Ciscomani, Paul Gosar, Abe Hamadeh, Eli Crane, and a really good friend of mine who's running for governor, who should win. He's great. Andy Biggs. Where's Andy? You better win, Andy. I hate to lose him from Congress. You want to know? You know, I'm sort of torn with Andy. I hate to lose him, but he'll be a great governor. Arizona GOP Chair Sergio Moreno. Sergio. Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. Great job you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for all the help. Arizona Senate President Warren Peterson. Warren. Thank you, Warren. Thank you. Popular, Warren. Very popular. Treasurer Kimberly Yee. Thank you, Kimberly. Good job. State Representative Alex Collodin. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, I can't believe it. I love this guy. So popular. A man, he's probably in his 50s, early 50s, but he's been around a long time, much longer than that. He's a special person. There was no border problem when he was here. Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Where are you? Sheriff Joe. Where's Sheriff Joe? You know, he came out for me when I was running, and I heard about him. He was sort of a legendary guy. There were no border problems, right? We had no border problems, and he endorsed me right at the beginning, Joe, right long before you saw any of the politicians that were running against. It was 18 people running, and they said, you know, Sheriff Joe endorsed you. I said, you mean from Arizona? A legend? Yeah, he endorsed you before I even started, practically. Thank you very much, Joe, and I've been with you all the way. Thank you. Appreciate it. Along with a special friend of mine and married to one of the greats, Rush Limbaugh, Catherine Limbaugh. Thank you, Catherine. She's a great woman. And a veteran Border Patrol agent who's been a fantastic friend of me and the campaign and all of the things, Art Del Cueto. Art, wherever you are, Art. And, you know, we have a lot of athletes, and I sort of think of myself, I'm sort of big. Sometimes in the wrong direction, maybe, but big. These guys are really big. Ryan Thompson of the Arizona Diamondbacks is a terrific player. We have a World Series champion. I met him today, and I said, you were a hell of a hitter, and really was a great player, and could be probably still a great player. Looks good. World Series champion Mark Grace. Mark? What a good hitter. And what about this guy, World Series MVP? Remember the blood pouring out of his foot? It didn't bother him at all. That blood was pouring the hell out of his foot. I remember it. Curt Schilling. Curt. Thank you, Curt. Thank you. And they're all characters, too, aren't they? It's really amazing. We like characters. Hockey Hall of Famer and a great golfer, I can tell you that. He's really a good golfer, Jeremy Roenick. Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, man. What a good golfer he is, too, but probably a little better at hockey, but, you know, he's supposed to be. NASCAR great, Danica Patrick. Danica? Where's Danica? Where's Danica? I love Danica. I love her hair. I always liked her hair. I like the little widow's peak. You know the widow's peak? Danica, where are you, Danica? So great. Thank you, darling. What a job you've done. What a job you did. Former NBA All-Star, Tom Chambers. Tom, there's a big guy. I didn't want my picture next to him. He stood up. I said, is that Tom Chambers? Yeah. I said, well, let's take it. I'll stand on this side of the room. Tom, stand up. What a job you've done. Great job, Tom. Everyone loves you, too. Arizona sports legend, John Gambadoro. John Gambadoro. Thank you, John. Gambo, good job. And a lot more. We have a lot of celebrities here, but with your help, we'll continue to deliver on our mandate from the American people like no president has ever delivered before. That's what we're doing. We have a mandate, you know. They said if we could win 3 or 4 of the swing states, that would be incredible. Because it's a little harder for a Republican for some reason. I'll tell you what the reason is: they cheat. That's actually the reason. They cheat like hell. Remember I got out, I said, make it too big to rig, right? Too big to rig. Don't believe the polls. The polls had us way up. Don't believe the polls. Too big to rig. We made it too big to rig. Just keep going. If no matter what you see, go out and vote. And we made it too big to rig. But they say if I won 3 or 4 of the swing states, that should do it. And we won all 7, right? All 7 of the swing states. As you remember, I recently directed the Secretary of War. How good is Pete Hegseth doing, by the way? To begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. And I figured this was a good crowd because I know you people, you're really into that. I don't know if I am, but so I'm pleased to report today. I thought I'd save it for this crowd because you're a little bit out there, you know, a little bit. That this process is well underway, and we found many very interesting documents, I must say. And the first releases will begin very, very soon. So you can go out and see if that phenomena is correct. You'll figure it out. Let me know. Let me know. But we've had a lot of questions. It's something that really captivates the mind. There's no question about it. With your support, we will crush violent crime, impose harsh new penalties for repeat offenders. I mean, we have people that have been taken in 28 times. We have some 28 times, and they let them go out 2 days later. Crack down on Marxist prosecutors and rogue judges. The judges are horrible. Add deadly sanctuary cities in our country and end no cash bail, which really started it all. No cash bail is a disaster. Somebody shoots somebody, they go in, they just let them out. Then they go shoot somebody else the same day. We will stop the radical left Democrats' rampant looting of your taxpayer dollars, and we will win the war on fraud, which is being headed by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. We're going to win it. We're going to win it. I said, J.D., I want that job. I want that job. It's so bad. You look at Minnesota, you look at California, you look at some of these states, it's so bad. Maine, believe it or not, is terrible. Maine, who would think Maine so bad? but we're right on their ass. We're right on their ass. And we will pass the great health care plan. We call it the great health care plan, to stop all payments to big insurance companies and give the money. What we want to do is this. We want the insurance companies to be cut out. We want our government not to pay trillions of dollars to insurance companies, to pay that same amount of money directly to the people, directly, and you go out and buy your own health care. And everybody likes it. The problem is the Democrats don't like it because they're owned by the insurance companies. So they vote no. But we're going to get it done one way or the other. We will make most favored nation discounts on drug prices permanent law. So I got you drug reductions on prescription drugs. Most favored nation. You know what that means? That means we pay the lowest of any nation in the world. When I got into office, we paid the highest of any nation in the world. I got the nations to agree because I threatened them with tariffs if they don't do it. And I got the insurance companies, I got the drug companies to do it. So your drug prices are going to be reduced by 60, 70, 80, and in some cases even more than 80%. Nobody has ever done that. And that alone should win us the midterm, but it won't. Because nobody wants to write, the fake news doesn't want to write about it. It's unbelievable. With the help of our Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we will make America healthy again. MAHA. Has anyone ever heard of MAHA? We will make America healthy again. He's doing a great job, Bobby. And Dr. Oz is doing a great job. Already we eliminated petroleum-based food dyes, reformed the vaccine schedule, and introduced the real food pyramid. We're cleaning up the whole mess. It's a mess. And to help young people afford a house, we will permanently ban Wall Street from buying up thousands and thousands of single-family homes and taking them off the plate. And we will pass the Save America Act to protect our sacred American election. Where all voters must show voter ID, little things like that. All voters must show proof of citizenship. How about that? Who would think? It's a 97% issue, and the Democrats are holding it back. 97. It's 87% with Republicans and Democrats. So even Democrats want it. But the politicians don't want it, Democrats, because when you have policy as bad as they have, like men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, open borders where people come in totally unvetted, just walk into our country, and criminals all over the world. When you have the only way you can win is to cheat. Really, I really believe that. So they don't want to have voter ID. They don't want to have proof of citizenship. But we'll get it. We're going to get it. And no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. Mail-in ballots are a big fraud. It's a big fraud. The mail-in vote is a big fraud. And we will also add into permanent statutes a very simple thing called no men in women's sports. And no transgender mutilization surgery for your children. We're putting that in. We're putting that in because I call them best of. Do you know what best of? Best of Trump. Can you believe it? Best of Trump. Men can. Did you ever see the weightlifting records? For 18 years, the record stood held by a young woman who was quite strong. It was like 212 pounds. That's a lot. It stood for 18 years. And then a young man decided to go the opposite route, and he wanted to become a young woman, and he transitioned, and he was a failed weightlifter in the men's division, but as a woman, he was brutal, and he broke the record. Remember, this is a record that stood for 18 years. They'd put an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce here for 18 years. They couldn't quite do it. He broke the record by 112 pounds. Or the swimming records, or the long distance running records. You could go short distance also. Did you see recently there was a long distance race? It went on forever. One of these triathlete type races. that top men, top women, the man won by 5 hours, 18 minutes, and 57 seconds. In fact, he went home and took a nap before getting his award. He slept for exactly 5 hours. Then he got up and picked up his award. It's very demeaning to women. It's very unfair to women. But together we will defend our cherished American heritage. We will defeat America's enemies. We will unshackle our magnificent destiny. We will return American astronauts to the moon, and we will plant our flag someday soon on Mars. For almost 250 years, our nation has stood as an inspiration to humanity and proof of what American faith and courage can achieve. It's amazing what's happened, especially what's happened over the last year. Our ancestors won our independence, vanquished foreign armies, and conquered wild frontiers. They fought perilous battles, crossed jagged mountains, and in the middle of empty deserts, they built gleaming cities like Phoenix, Arizona. Have you heard of it? Right from a desert, generations before us poured out their blood, sweat, and tears to make America into the most exceptional nation the world has ever known. And today we are making it more exceptional than ever thought possible, than ever before. With your support in these midterms, we will continue this momentum and achieve total and ultimate victory for America. We will fight, 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 and win, win, win. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Arizona. Thank you. Thank you. Win those midterms. Thank you, everybody. Hello, everybody. Nice to be with you. We're landing pretty soon. We had some pretty good news 20 minutes ago, but it seems to be going very well in the Middle East with Iran. We'll know over a little period of time. We're negotiating over the weekend. And as you know, we have the blockade. The blockade's been very successful. And of equal success has been the 5 weeks before the blockade. The combination was pretty lethal, I would say. So we're going to be knowing very shortly. But we're talking over. I expect things to go well. Many of these things have been negotiated and agreed to.
Sir, what was the good news that you had 20 minutes ago?
Having to do with Iran.
Can you tell us anything about
But you'll hear about it. But
What are you going to be
I just think it's something that should happen. It's something that only makes sense to happen. And I think it will. We'll see what happens, but I think it will.
Have you agreed to?
You told me on the phone earlier that everything has been agreed to. You told me earlier that everything has been agreed to. Iran was saying something different. So what has been worked out in that time?
Let's say something different because, you know, they have people that they have to cater to also. I really don't. I'm just doing the thing that's right. I'm just saying it like it is. And we have a situation, I think, that is going to be very beneficial. And the main thing is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and that supersedes everything else.
Are you personally the one that's making these negotiations? Are you personally the one that's making these negotiations move forward? Is it?
I mean, I have people representing me, but I'm the one that makes the decision.
Sir, in the Strait, there have been reports that the Pentagon's preparing for military action in Cuba. Are those reports true? Is Cuba next?
Well, it depends on what your definition of military action is.
Would it look like Venezuela or Iran?
Really, it does. It depends on what your definition of military action is, as Bill Clinton would say. You understand that? No, a lot of people don't understand that.
Sir,
Your 9 a.m. event tomorrow. What are you planning to announce?
We have
Is it
something
Iran?
tomorrow that's a little bit of a surprise. I think it's a very positive thing, something I feel strongly about. Somebody's coming to the White House who's very good, very smart, very caring, a person that cares a lot about the country and beyond. And so we're going to have a news conference tomorrow, a little unusual, Saturday
Is it
morning.
about Iran?
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, it will be. Ultimately, everything's about Iran, I guess. It all morphs into Iran. You're going to be asking questions. But the Iran thing is just going well. Tomorrow is unrelated, but it'll be a form of a news conference. And I think it's going to be something very good for our country.
Do you think something at the White House when this all does end, when you are able?
Well, I'm a party, man. Would be great. Hey, we've been pushed around by Iran for 47 years, but not anymore.
When you say that Iran has agreed to turn over their nuclear dust, what does that mean? Are they destroying their nuclear material? They're turning it over. Can you walk us through what that process looks like, sir?
We're taking it. Very simple. We're taking it. Yeah, with Iran. We're going in with Iran.
Does that mean U.S. boots on the ground to get that?
I don't go up with it. We'll take it after the agreement is signed. There's a big difference before and after. BC. It's before and after.
Sir, in the Strait, are there going to be
After
restrictions?
the agreement is signed, it's a lot different than before. We would have taken it. If we didn't have an agreement, we would take it. But I don't think we'll have to.
Sir, in the Strait, are there going to be restrictions and tolls managed by Iran for ships and vessels
Nope.
passing through?
No way. Nope.
None at all?
Nope.
No restrictions?
Mr. President,
You talked about FISA, Mr. President.
Restrictions, yeah, there'll be restrictions. You can't do the tolls. No, they're not going to be tolls.
On FISA, Mr. President, Anna Paula Luna is pushing to have the Save America Act linked to FISA in the FISA renewal. Are you in
She's
favor?
right, and I'd love to see that. The Save America Act is so important. It's so good. It's voter ID. It's, basic. It's your basics about a democracy. Voter ID, birthplace. You have to be born in the United States to vote. We have no transgender. We added no transgender utilization of our children. Very important. No men in women's sports. Now we added that. Also, we talk about the top three, and we put as the three having to do with the vote. We also have no mail-in ballots other than for the military, etc. If you're sick, the military. If you're away, if you're disabled, any of those things. It's pretty generous, actually, but mail-in ballot, the tremendous cheating that goes on with mail-in ballots. So we would have no mail-in ballots except for those various exceptions.
Did the ceasefire in Lebanon need to happen for you to get to a deal with Iran?
It's not really tied, but you could say maybe psychologically tied, but we're going to help Lebanon become a country again. You know, it's been a long time for them. They've gone through a lot, and we're going to help them be a country again.
And then were you frustrated with Netanyahu while you were negotiating the ceasefire in the last round? Was his action bombing Lebanon, did that impact peace talks?
We disagree on some things, but he's been a very good partner. We did a good job. There's probably never been anything like it. He says we were the senior, and we are the senior. We're the senior Deborah. We're the greatest military in the world. I built it in the first term. Didn't think I'd be using it this much, but we have the greatest military in the world, greatest equipment, greatest. When you look at it, we had 101 to 111, depending on your definition, because some were two. They came out in twos. Missiles shot at a certain very valuable asset of ours that happened to be sitting on the water. Every single one of those missiles was shot down. Think of it, 111 missiles. Every single one of them was shot down. Never even got close. And nobody has a military like this. Nobody has equipment like this. Nobody has the power that we have.
So you said that the U.S. was going to take the nuclear dust from Iran.
yeah, we didn't
What's
make
the
a deal.
time? What's the timeline on that? How long will that?
You want me to give you the time and date and everything
Is
else?
it like you've negotiated
If we
how long that
obviously, I'm not
process
going to
will
give you
go
the time other than if we sign the agreement, then I can give you a time somewhere after the signing of the agreement.
And
We'll
will
go
it
in
involve
with
the US
Iran.
military?
We'll go in with Iran and we will take it together and we will bring it back, 100% of it, back to the United States. If we don't do that, we will get it in a different form, in a much more unfriendly form.
That's
But in any event, we'll get it. But in any event, excuse me, but in any event, we'll get it. Go ahead.
If you don't have a deal by Wednesday when the ceasefire ends, will you extend the ceasefire or will you
don't
start
know. Maybe not.
attacks again?
Maybe I won't extend it.
Okay.
But the blockade is going to remain. But maybe I won't extend it. So you have a blockade, and unfortunately, we'll have to start dropping bombs again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. I think it's going to happen. Thank you.
What about the UFOs, Mr. President?
דווקא מהשער האחורי, השער החמד יותר של המעגל המערבי, יש שם חוק מהעיתונים באופן לא שגרתי סליחה, זה כל כך לא בטח הפגישה בשורה ישירה פה, נמצאים יועצים של
Bobby's a very unusual person. I said, when is the news conference? He said, Saturday morning. I said, I don't know. Has that ever happened before? Well, it's an honor, and it's very important what we're doing. So, as you see, and you know a lot of the people behind me, they're tremendous professionals, medical professionals most, and some military, like Marcus, some great military professionals too, real hero. Today I'm pleased to announce historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs. In many cases, these experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from severe mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. Our veterans are having a tremendous hard time. You know, the suicide rate, we have it down a little bit, but they are having a hard time. And I got a call from a number of people, including the great Joe Rogan, and he said, we have to do something about this. And I looked into it. I called Bobby, I called Oz, I called Marty and Jay, and it was uniform support. And I said, so why would we wait 3 or 4 years to get it done? Or 10 years, frankly. Let's get it done immediately, and that's what happened. This has probably never been anything happened so quickly. Everybody is so strongly in favor of this. It's for a lot of people, but it's for our military in particular. The suicide epidemic among veterans is a national tragedy. Since 9/11, we've lost over 21 times more veteran lives to suicide than on the battlefield. So we lose, think of that, 21 times more. And today we're bringing them new hope. I think you're going to see a big difference and a big reduction in that number. I want to thank Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a fantastic, where are you, Bob? Over here. He always makes it difficult. He's done a great job, too. And people love him. And more importantly, your wife is here someplace, Bobby. She's out there. Where are you? Where are you? The real boss in the family. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. As well as FDA Commissioner Marty Makary, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. See how easy that name is? You know, it used to give me a little trouble. That was a tough name. Congressman Morgan Luttrell, who's a friend of mine and he's a real war hero. He knows something that a lot of us will never find out about. Retired U.S. Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, the two of them. I don't know what's in your blood, fellas. You guys are good mom and dad. My mom and dad. Yeah, good somebody. Good to have you. And Joe Rogan, who's a fantastic person. We did a little interview before the election. We had over 300 million people. And I said, oh man, I hope Kamala doesn't do it. And she didn't. He wanted her to do it, but she didn't. Someday Joe's going to explain why. I could tell you why. But along with many other, because she didn't want to, with many other veterans. And I just want to thank the people behind me are outstanding. It's an amazing group. The executive order I'm signing, we're actually signing the executive order today, is really a moment. It directs the FDA to expedite their review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. They're very much being discussed. That's one of the hottest things I think you're talking about, Oz, right? It's nothing. If these turn out to be as good as people are saying, it's going to have a tremendous impact on this country and other countries too. These treatments are currently in the advanced stages of clinical trials to ensure that they're both safe and effective for the American patients. And the nice part is we're actually doing this early, but it has been going on. Research has been going on for quite some time. But usually with things like this, nothing ever happens, no matter how the research ends up. But we're changing that. This order will clear away unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, improve data sharing among the FDA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and facilitate fast rescheduling of any psychedelic drugs that become FDA approved. And we think many of them will go very quickly. And I have to say the most favored nations pricing that I established, has been knocking the cost of drugs down by 50, 60, 70, 80%. And I also want to thank you and Bobby for the great job you've done. It's incredible. The press refuses to write about it. I think it's probably as big as what we're talking about today. The drug costs are going down and by the way, Trump RX, which is the way you go to get your very low cost drugs. But when you think in my first term, for 28 years, drug prices went up, and I got it down 1/4 or 1/8%. I was so proud of myself. It's the only one that in 28 years got them down. And I had a news conference to explain how great I was. I said, I'm the greatest there ever was. I got it down 1/8%. Okay? I was very proud because it only went up. For 28 years, it went up. Now I got it down a little bit. And now I got it down 50%, 60%, 70% with these guys. So now I am, But nobody wants to write about it. But it doesn't matter because the people have found out and they're getting, we're the highest, we were the highest in the world by far. Sometimes would be 10 times higher than other countries. You'd buy a drug, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. You'd buy it in London, you'd buy it for $10 for a pill, let's say, or a pill generally, but actually to be specific, London, $87, New York, $1,300. I said, how can that be possible? How can it be possible? $87. And actually a friend of mine called me up and he said, he's a very rich guy, and he happens to be on this Ozempic, I guess, at the time. And it was not working, by the way. The guy was extremely successful, but highly neurotic. Got a lot of problems. I will not mention his name. He's begging me not to mention it because he's become quite famous. He's a big factor here. But he's very smart, very rich guy, very, very successful guy. And he said, hey, President, he used to call me Donnie. Now he calls me President, sign of respect. He said, I'm in London. I bought this stuff for $87. In New York, I pay $1,300. What's going on? I said, well, that's the way it is. We pay the highest prices in the world. And it sort of hit me that how ridiculous it is. Made, by the way, he checked it. He had a whole big research done on it because he couldn't believe it. Made in the same factory, same place, everything was the same except the price. And now we are the lowest price. We are tied. In other words, whatever the lowest price in the world is, that's the price we pay. That's a tremendous difference. So we'll be paying, they go up a little bit. So the 87 will go like to 120 and we'll go down from 1,300 to 120. So we'll have these massive price cuts and they've already started. And I think it's one of the biggest things, but unfortunately the press doesn't like to talk about it. But because if I were a Democrat, it would be headlines all over the place. But so I do that. That's why I like live television, actually. It's great because you can't do any cutting. But we're so honored by that, and that's going to have a huge impact on this also, because the pricing, not only is it important, but the pricing is going good. And you're going to get the rescheduling done, right, please? Will you get the rescheduling done, please? They're slow walking me on rescheduling. Okay, you're going to get it done, right? In 2024 study from Stanford University, 30 special operation veterans with traumatic brain injuries underwent, it's called ibogaine treatment. Ibogaine. Remember the name. Is that pronounced relatively properly, would you say?
Yes.
I don't want to get it wrong. Ibogaine, because it's so important, and experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Can I have some, please? I'll take it. I'll take whatever it takes. I don't have time to be depressed. If you stay busy enough, maybe that works too. That's what I do. In Texas, Republican leaders have already committed $50 million to the ibogaine research, and today the federal government is making a $50 million research investment in its own, and so that was just approved just last night. We're also opening a pathway for ibogaine to be administered to desperately ill patients under the Right to Try law. That's a law that I started and I got, Right to Try. Very proud of that. Was done in my first term, and I used to marvel at the fact that people that were terminally ill could not get a drug. They're terminally ill. They're going to die, and the FDA, right, Marty? That's right. Jay? The FDA was protecting them from dying, but they're going to die, And so we have these incredible drugs, and they may work and they may not work, but we wouldn't let anybody get them because they were bad for your health. But these are people that were going to die. And it never made sense to me. So one of the first things I did early in my term, and it was very tough to get, actually, hard to believe. It was very tough with Congress, but they came through, the Republicans came through. And we have something called Right to Try, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. That's if you're terminally ill or very ill, and there is a new drug that is not available because it's gone through the process of the FDA, and Marty's cut that process down by 50%. We're down, it used to take 12 years, and now we have it down to 5 or 6 years, and it's one of the most important things that you can do. But if you're terminally ill, and there's a new drug that may work or may not work, but it hasn't been approved yet, you sign a document, and you're not going to hold the country liable. You're not going to hold the drug companies or the insurance companies or anybody liable, and you have the right to try. And what it's done, and nobody wanted it, the insurance companies hated it, even the doctors, they were all afraid of it because they didn't want to be sued. But I took all of the liability out of it. You sign a document, you're not going to sue the doctor, you're not going to sue the hospital, you're not going to sue anybody, including the country, and everybody signs it like immediately. And we have tens of thousands of people on this, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. And what it has done, we never thought of it so much as, but what it has done is, in some cases, these drugs are working so good, it literally cures people that were terminally ill. But it's one of the things I'm most proud. I'm proud of a lot of things we've done, but that's one of the things we're most proud of, Right to Try. But I've always believed in ensuring that the American patients have access to breakthrough treatments and therapies with love for our veterans. And I have real love for our veterans. I was with a group yesterday. It's incredible what they've gone through. And care for American patients. Today's order will ensure that people suffering from debilitating symptoms might finally have a chance to reclaim their lives and lead a happier life. Just lead a happier life. They've been through so much. So I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, followed by Commissioner McCary, Marcus Luttrell, Joe Rogan, and anybody in the group that would like to speak. You're tremendous people. I know many of you, and you're really highly respected people. And the Luttrell family is well represented, but I don't mind having both Luttrells. Both Luttrells can say a few words, okay? Great people. And so, Bobby, do you want to start it off, please?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you very much.
Good morning, and thanks to the leadership of President Trump for making this historic day possible. Under the executive order, HHS will accelerate research, approval, and access to new mental health treatments, including psychedelic therapies such as Ibogaine. We're taking this decisive step to confront one of the most urgent public health challenges facing our nation, the mental health crisis. More than 14 million Americans live with serious mental illness, and 1 in 4 adults experiences a diagnosable disorder each year. Suicide has risen by more than 30% over the past 2 decades, with another peak in recent years. Among veterans, more than 6,000 die by suicide each year since 2001. We have lost far more veterans to suicide than to combat. At the same time, millions of Americans living with depression, PTSD, addiction, and other conditions do not respond to existing treatments. We owe it to our warfighters and veterans to turn over every stone to alleviate the emotional and mental health blowback from their deployments. It's disturbing to me and to the President that hundreds, in fact thousands of veterans are having to travel to Mexico or other countries to experiment with interventions that hold great promise, but for which our knowledge is still insufficient. This executive order will remove the legal impediments that block American researchers, scientists, physicians, and clinicians from properly studying these medicines, and where appropriate, establishing protocols for their safe therapeutic use. We're directing the FDA to prioritize therapies that have received breakthrough therapy designation, treatments that early evidence suggests may improve what we have today. We're expanding the use of Right to Try so that eligible patients with treatment-resistant conditions can access these therapies under medical supervision. We're also coordinating with the DEA and the Department of Justice to begin rescheduling reviews after successful phase 3 trials. When the FDA determines that therapy is safe and effective, patients should not face avoidable delays in access. At the same time, HHS will work with states, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and other federal partners to strengthen research and share clinical data. We will use that data to support faster and evidence-based decisions. Through ARPA-H, HHS will allocate, as the President says, at least $50 million from existing funds to partner with states that are advancing these therapies. We will support those efforts with funding, with technical assistance and data sharing consistent with applicable law. Researchers at Johns Hopkins, Stanford, and Harvard, and other leading institutions have reported meaningful and, in some cases, extraordinary clinical improvements. If these results continue, these therapies could offer longer-lasting relief, not just symptom management, and reduce economic burden on mental illness, which costs this country hundreds of billions of dollars every year. This policy creates a strict, science-based pathway for FDA approval and controlled medical use. The bottom line is progress in mental health treatment has not matched the scale of the problem. I want to thank Joe Rogan for helping bring national attention to innovative, potentially life-saving treatments for veterans and others living with mental illness, and for pushing this conversation into the mainstream. I also want to thank Representative Morgan Luttrell from Texas and former Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell for their leadership on this issue. I also want to thank the CEO of Americans for Ibogaine, Brian Hubbard, and the organization's ambassador, former Navy SEAL Henry Berkowitz, and former SEAL Team 6, Rob O'Neill. I want to thank a couple of people for getting this record time across the finish line, Callie Means and Dr. Heidi Overton. Thank you, Heidi, for your leadership and for your attention to detail, which is often frustrating, but always right. So thank you, and thank you above all, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Bobby. You're fantastic. Bobby's really done an amazing job. You know, MAHA, it's a big deal. And I want to thank you. You work so hard, Oz and everybody up here. And I just want to thank you. Great job. And he's somewhat outside of the box, would you say? And that we need outside of the box a little bit, right? Would you say, Oz? Marty, please.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, the FDA will issue 3 national priority vouchers for serotonin 2A agonists, also known as psychedelics. Under this new program, in this administration, drugs can get approved in weeks, not a year or a year plus, but in weeks, if they are in line with our national priorities. We have 18 vouchers in the program. We'll be adding 3 more next week. This is an unmet public health need, and there are potentially promising treatments. That's why there's a sense of urgency around this. That's why we're doing it now. The applications are about to come in, so this is the natural, perfect timing for this announcement. For many men and women, they have been fighting battles on the ground. But even after the wars are over, those battles continue in their mind. Now, there are a lot of medications in medicine where we don't know exactly how it works, but we see profound results. If we actually listen to those who experience the therapeutic value, we can learn as a medical field. We just have to listen. The stories of those individuals with dramatic results, that is data. That is scientific data, even from a single individual. We also have randomized controlled trials. And we have to do that because we need to be able to say there's good support when we recommend these therapeutics. If you look at those trials, there's a 30 to 40% remission rate for conditions like PTSD. Otherwise, we got nothing. We have almost nothing for these conditions. And today, the FDA is also announcing the first Ibogaine investigational new drug clearance. This will pave the way for the first and ever human trials in the United States.
To be clear, the FDA will also have criteria and circumstances that have to be used to administer these drugs. These drugs can have side effects, and so it's not like you go to the pharmacy and pick it up. It's like medications that are administered in an ICU or an operating room. There are criteria for doing it in a controlled setting. Finally, given the urgency of today's mental health crisis, I just want to thank you, Mr. President, and say the FDA is proud to support this broader effort to evaluate new therapeutics for some of the greatest Americans we have in this country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Doing
President.
a great job, too. Appreciate it. Marcus?
Yes, sir. To start off, Mr. President, thank you so much for having us in here and doing this. You're going to save a lot of lives with it. I'd like to say how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to go through the program and receive the Ibogaine. It absolutely changed my life for the better. I went through a lot of the programs that the veterans are going through, and I always kind of felt like I was a victim coming out of the program. When I came out of this, I felt like I had gotten my life back. That was 5 years ago. I literally lived the best days of my life every single day. I'm so thankful for everybody who's in this room to help out with this. I know this is kind of a new frontier for us, and just the fact that we're taking this kind of slow as smooth as fast, and we're getting it in there so we can test this out so that we don't get ahead of ourselves. I think that's very impactful. I think there's a lot of people out there that need help, not only our veterans, but our civilian population that can benefit from this. And it's going to do great things for our country to get it back on track and open up a lot of doorways and pathways for us to be successful in the future. Thank you for your time.
That's fantastic. So you've done this 5 years?
Yes, sir.
And it's just been a whole different...
Every single day is a better day for me.
Wow. That's amazing, really.
I can vouch for that.
Come here, this guy's got guts. Come here. This guy's two good guys. I didn't realize you were involved in it already. It's the best
Yes, sir.
testament you can have. There's nothing better than that. A man who's really respected by everybody, and he's a fantastic person, Joe Rogan, to say a few words, please, Joe.
Well, I want to say that I'm here because of the man to my left. Brian Hubbard and former Texas Governor Rick Perry came on my podcast. They told me how impactful this medicine is, and having that conversation with them, millions of people got a chance to hear their story, hear the stories of all the different people that have had life-changing experiences from it. And I want Brian to be able to speak about this.
Good. Brian, please.
Thank you, sir.
I heard that, Joe. You have no trouble speaking. He's had no trouble speaking.
I want to assure you that my presence here is the most concrete affirmation that God has a wonderful sense of humor. Thank you. Thank you. Federal prohibition of psychedelic medicine in America is over. On the 250th year, on the 250th year of our nation's founding, everyone who has fought for this day through decades of monumental struggle, sacrifice, and suffering can now declare a seminal victory for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Rights we bear as images of our eternal Creator, whose essence is almighty, eternal, unconditional love for each and every one of us. This is the end of the beginning. We have moved mountains, yet there are mountains to move. Government systems which have relentlessly suppressed psychedelics are the same systems which will now manage their emergence. We dare not let our guard down for 1 second and be hair trigger ready to impose accountability for incompetence, obstruction, or failure. Credit belongs where credit is due. With this executive order, President Trump has delivered an epic victory for all humanity. I thank him for having the courage to make this happen, and my mission brother, Joe Rogan, for having the spine to make the ask. To our brothers and sisters in Gabon, you have our deepest gratitude for your stewardship of the sacred tree grown for the healing of nations. I will do my best to deliver the respect and honor you deserve for helping heal this nation. It is my joy to deliver these good tidings unto the meek, which will hopefully bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to all who are bound. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, President.
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. And it was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
We all respect Joe, and he's a little bit more liberal than... That's okay. I have a lot of friends that are liberal, but Joe is an amazing guy, and he wrote me a little note about this, and I had it checked out. I didn't just do it. I had it checked out. I went to Bobby and Oz. I went to some of the people that work for you, real pros, and everybody came back with the same answer. You know, normally they'll come back, because this happens a lot. I have a couple of them like that, where they're not sure. It's like, you know, it goes 2 ways. This thing, everybody thought it was incredible. And I told Bobby, I said, Bobby, let's just do it and get Oz involved, and it's going to get done so quickly, and you guys did a great job. Would you like to say something else?
Mr. President, I want to thank Matt Zorin, who's hiding in the back there, who actually on Sunday wrote a draft for this. You already thanked Heidi and Kelly, but you know, Susie Wiles makes everything run here. This was an unimaginable task in 1 week to be able to go from a series of connections and communications with Joe Rogan through the honey badger of them all, Bobby Kennedy, who said, we're not going to stop. We didn't start calling everyone down the bike. Steph Spear's been involved, and Chris Klump, who's been doing a fantastic job helping run everything in great efficiency, made something. I just want to emphasize this. This is an entire paradigm shift away from a one-day-a-pill model, which has failed so many. And to the many who are drug resistant that Joe just spoke to, this offers them a way of getting out of that rut. The question now is, can we study why it works to understand it better, to use it better? That's what Jay Bhattacharya is going to do, NIH with major funding support, perhaps some ARPA as well. Marty spoke eloquently about the FDA's accelerated pathway for this. And then we're going to, when we learn more, figure out better ways of getting access to these products through our healthcare system. This is an extraordinarily exciting day, and it would never happen if the president just would not take no for an answer. He called on the way Joe to the fight on Saturday, and I think he was as determined to get this done as the men in those rings and women in those rings that night. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, determined.
I want to thank Professor Nolan Williams. When I was a professor at Stanford, I got to know him, and he taught me about Ibogaine and all the promise that it has for treatment-resistant depression and so many other conditions. Frankly, for me, I learned a lot. He unfortunately passed away last year. I want to thank this amazing team that just moved heaven and earth to get things done. I do want to emphasize this is something that we're still studying, and we have to keep studying. We have to figure out the right way to like make sure we administer it, that it's safe, that we don't just take it for granted. We already know everything, because we don't. And for the NIH and for ARPA-H, we are absolutely committed to making sure that we keep studying it, keep getting the best gold standard science on it. You see here Nora Volkow, who's my National Institute of Drug Abuse director. She's been an absolute hero in just developing scientific, so the commitment for American science to focus on this, and in many ways, it's that scientific advance that brought us to this moment. So thank you, President Trump.
But if it's good, we want to get it fully approved fast, right?
I mean, for the things that have great evidence, and that's
Because,
what
these studies, they go on for a long time, and if it's good. I mean, I have a witness right here, these two incredible brothers. That, to me, is a study, right?
I mean, it's just because what Commissioner McCary said, there's stuff that we know, and we can tell it works. We still got to figure out somehow how it works or why it works. That we got to keep doing, even as we move forward fast.
But it does work.
Some of those, I mean, absolutely, some of those treatments absolutely work.
Yes, it works.
Here,
I'm trying to get the answer, because it either works or it doesn't. I would think that there's been a lot of research already, indirect research, maybe the ultimate research, people that have taken it, because I've spoken to people that have taken it, aside from the trail, both of them. I've spoken to 5 people that
Mr. President,
that had big problems.
Done it 3 times.
Yeah,
It works.
please.
It fixed my demonic
This
relationship.
is Rob O'Neill, who's a friend of mine and a great guy. Go ahead.
It fixed my demonic relationship with alcohol. It saved my life, and then it saved my wife. So every day's a blessing. It took about 3 years of. I did it 3 times. It's a different adventure every time. That's not fun.
So without it, you would have had problems.
I did it with. There was a Green Beret, 28-year sergeant major, that told me when we finished, make sure you tell Amber Capone, the CEO of Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions, that she saved my life, because I was going to kill myself next week. This was my last chance. I had a 20-year veteran tell me that. This works.
Okay, good.
Mr. President,
Yes.
you asked Marcus to speak about his experience.
Thank you, Secretary. Yeah, Mr. President, what Rob O'Neill's talking about, my wife Amber Capone is the CEO of our charity Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. We had prayed for this day to come 10 years ago when we started the charity. We've been sending veterans outside the country, Joe, that you've been talking about for years, several thousand now, and we said the mission will end once this day happens, so we believe this is a huge step in maybe that the mission goes away, and now we have affordable access right here in the U.S.
Why didn't they get it done?
We're getting it done, right? You're getting it done.
Yeah. Why yet other presidents looking at it, right? Why didn't they get it done?
I think we needed you.
That's my job. I can answer that question, sir.
Go ahead, please.
There's a small group of us in the House that have been trying to move legislation since I showed up. Mr. Correa, Mr. Bergman, Mr. McCall, Mr. Crenshaw, every year have tried to move legislation. That side of the room is not going to like what I have to say about this. And every year it has all fallen short. Every year it has all fallen short. And it's because of the proverbial roadblocks that were always in the way.
Right, sure.
Okay, fair assessment. But those members and myself were convicted never to give up, ever. And with this executive order, I'm going to maintain composure, Mr. President. With this executive order, you have broken down those barriers and allowed us, I have all the faith in the world that this will codify and will remain forever. So thank you very much for taking care of your service members and your veterans and giving the members that have been working on this for so long a chance. Thank you, sir.
Well, this, when I signed this does solve it for the 3 year, but we'll get that codified very soon.
Absolutely.
Once I sign it, we get them codified, so we'll make it permanent. I have no doubt it's going to be working. Would anybody else like to say something? These 2 women are so talented.
Well, I love an executive order that says research, 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 because it's ultimately what guides us on to how to optimally do things. And I think that this is what hopefully will start to happen, and bringing up change in a system that has been very difficult to modify because of prior experiences. These drugs have unique characteristics that could actually, if we investigate them, can bring us into potential applications that currently we're not thinking about. But if we close the door to science, if we close the door to data, we'll just keep on doing the same thing again and again.
Do you think the door was closed?
It was hard.
Yes.
It was hard to do research.
It's very, very hard. And it's actually just by scheduling as a one, it makes it very
So
difficult.
this is a big move then?
It is
It's going to have
It will facilitate
bigger than
research.
just this one thing that we're talking about.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad we didn't waste a Saturday morning. Please.
Yes, Mr. President, this is a much needed, bold move for precision mental health for our veterans and others, and accelerates access to personalized targeted treatments. As you have heard, many veterans and others experiencing mental health disorders, they go through up to years of trial and error, trying one treatment that doesn't work, trying another and not knowing why. My work at Stanford and with my colleagues is to develop brain-based tests that can be measured right now in our VA and other locations that help us understand why these new treatments work and who they'll be most effective for. So with your mandate, we are in a position to really accelerate saving lives of many more people and getting them well sooner. And I believe that with this, the United States will be the first country in the world to treat mental health like we do cancer and like we do many other chronic mental illnesses.
We know the world is... The world is actually watching this because there are a lot of countries that want to do this and they haven't been able to. They're going to be following suit very, very strongly. Thank you very much, both. Anybody else? You guys okay? Everybody, let's sign it, right? Want to say something?
Mr. President, thank you. This treatment saved my life as well, and so many fellow veterans. Helped me get off opiates, stop using a nerve stimulator I had implanted, sleep for the first time in over 10 years. So thank you.
And you have no doubt, right?
Zero.
Wow, to me, that's the best research of all, frankly.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's my honor. Good, that's a good one. Oh, I wanted this one. See that, Joe? No. You think Biden can do that? Questions of the folks, and I think we'll keep it on the subject pretty much. You'll have some questions on Iran, I know that, but this is such an important subject that I'd rather let this just speak for itself. And we'll be talking about Iran later. We have very good conversations going on. It's working out very well. They got a little cute, as they have been doing for 47 years. Nobody ever took them on. We took them on. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no leaders, they have no nothing. Actually, their leaders it is regime change. You call that enforced regime change. But we're talking to them. They wanted to close up the strait again, as they've been doing for years. And they can't blackmail us. In fact, a lot of the ships are coming up to Texas. I don't know if you know, in Louisiana, the ships are coming up. They got used to it. Maybe they'll keep doing it. It's worked out pretty good. But it's going actually along very well, and we'll see, but we'll have some information by the end of the day. We're talking to them, and we're taking a tough stand. They've killed a lot of people. A lot of our people have been killed. A lot of your fellow soldiers have been killed over the years by Iran. The roadside bomb. Soleimani, I killed Soleimani.
He was making the explosive form penetrators. They're making them in Iran, bringing them to Iraq and blasting through the vehicles.
Well, he was the father of the roadside bomb, essentially, and he killed a lot of people. And when you see soldiers or others, but soldiers generally walking around with no legs, with no arms, a face that's been smashed, that was Soleimani, that was Iran that did that. So we have a much different view on it than other presidents. They've gotten away with murder for 47 years. They're not getting away with it anymore. Does anybody have any questions with the great professionals, please?
So I wanted to know, could this potentially ever be available through the VA? Because I was talking to Liz over here, you guys went down to Mexico together, but it's really expensive. And this is another drug that's expensive.
We have the right guy, Oz. Let's go.
A lot of veterans need this.
What are you good for this question? You're talking about expense and availability.
So I spoke to Doug Collins. Obviously, both he obviously pays for the VA, and we pay for Medicare, Medicaid, children's health insurance. Are very focused on the results that the NIH and FDA are going to offer us. We have a mechanism of creating models, CMMI, that might be the wise way to go because we can continue to study the impact. This is such a massive shift in how you deliver care. Imagine instead of taking a pill a day for your depression, you go through one treatment, but you have to have few people watching you. It's a very different world. So we're working that through. That's why the president, who I think this is the perfect step to get everything rolling, to deliver on the promise he made.
What's timing, would you say that, before you know?
We could have a CMMI model that we would announce by the end of this year. But the reason I'm not committing to that now is I want to make sure that the FDA and NIH have time, along with the great scientists, to give us a bit more information about how to deliver care. I'll give you one concrete example. For things like, well, Ibogaine is a little different story, but you wouldn't want 2 people in the room during the treatment. That's true for many of these approaches. That's a very different way of delivering medicine. And so the models that Abe Sutton runs that group for us and has done a great job with the president, that will be probably the fastest way of moving forward and give the VA data so they can make wiser decisions, because Doug Collins is very focused on this.
But there's one thing I'd add. There's nothing more expensive right now than the mental health crisis in America. 21% of Americans have a diagnosable mental health condition. The second leading cause of death for young adults today is suicide. Wow. Mr. President, antidepressants right now are the most prescribed class of medications in the country. Over 20% of women are on an antidepressant.
And is that good in terms of do they work?
There's highly problematic research on the fact that over 20% of U.S. women are on these drugs that are prescribed for life. We have a mental health crisis. And
do they work?
No. They don't. I'm on a couple of them. And
I would not have.
We'll get you down to Mexico. We'll get you down to Mexico.
I said, okay, could I be next? But no, it is definitely an issue for women.
But, Mr. President, what you and Secretary Kennedy unlocked is for the first time questioning this system, that where we spend 3 times more per capita than any other country in the world, and we are living 6-7 years less. We have the highest rates of suicide and depression in the developed world. The incentives of our system.
And by the way, autism, which we're really working hard on, right, Bob?
We have the highest rates of
and we're
pediatric.
coming up with some pretty amazing findings.
Pediatric cancer is the highest rates in the world. We are struggling, and we're paying more than any other country, and the power of this executive order is really representative and gives validation to the cries of Maha moms and the votes of Maha moms, because for the first time it's taking a therapy that's one time. This is a one time, not a lifetime drug that can change someone's life, and that's the power. And I think that's why the system.
So the antidepressants, all that we read about it, or we prescribe to our military, they're not very effective.
It's a lifetime drug, and
well, even if it's lifetime, but do they
look at what's happened as we've prescribed them and made them one of the most prescribed classes.
The numbers are not great.
Perhaps I could jump in from the scientific side.
Thank you, Mr. President. What's the timeline for those?
She just wanted to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think what's really important about your order is we really want to understand why these rapid-acting treatments work. We need that for every treatment in mental health illnesses. Standard antidepressants in research, they do work for some people, but certainly not everyone. And if we think of cancer, all other conditions, we have a test to know which treatment is needed, and we don't have that for mental illness. It's guesswork.
This is tough. With that, it either works or it doesn't work, and you have the results. With this, you don't.
As part of this order, I think it's really important that we're able to have the investment to understand who does this work for, and the test to accompany that. So thank you for making that.
Do you think this can be a big step above antidepressants, what we're doing?
I think it can be identifying who doesn't respond to an antidepressant straight away, rather than waiting for years. And
What
being
percentage
able
of people respond positively to antidepressants?
20 to 30%.
That's not great.
No.
That's not great. Well, thank you very much.
Mr. President, what's the timeline for those with mental health disorders, substance abuse disorders, to readily take advantage of this treatment based upon the executive order that you're signing today?
So I'd like to ask maybe Marty that question.
Sure. So first of all, right now it's available on clinical trials. We have not had applications in-house at the FDA. There was one that came in under the Biden administration. It was kicked out and not accepted. We now have 3 applications that are imminent, and we'll be issuing vouchers next week. The fastest FDA approval was 42 days during the HIV epidemic. On our national priority voucher program under President Trump, we are now down to that time frame on a routine basis instead of a year. In my opinion, we need the same level of urgency we had with HIV for PTSD and depression and anxiety and our mental health disorder and cancer and heart disease and so many other conditions. So you're going to see decisions out from the FDA later this summer as soon as we get the applications.
That's great. That's great.
And Mr. President, I
really like that answer.
Thank you, Mr. President. And then in regards to the timing of the executive order, was there not enough known about this treatment a year ago or 5 years ago or 8 years ago to sign the executive order that you signed?
So do you want to answer that question? Go ahead.
I just add in 2016, the lead professor at Johns Hopkins said this was the most promising therapy that he's seen in his career, and many doctors from leading institutions said that. There's been a hold, there's been incentives against this, and the bravery and leadership of President Trump.
So you need artificial barriers?
It started, and this, to be clear, is starting a fast-track scientific process that's subject to FDA approval. But this has been known among leading institutions for many times as a very promising therapy.
So could it not have been signed in your first term, or there just wasn't enough information known about it?
Nobody told me about it, frankly. I got, all of a sudden, I've been getting a lot of calls. I think a lot, in all fairness, I think a lot's been learned over the last few years.
I just say that? I mean, a lot has been learned over the past few years. And I think in the first term, if I was standing behind the president, I would have been much more comfortable than I am now, thanks to the research that's been done. I mean, still a lot more to do. It's worked for so many people. It's really a great move to do this. But the research is really important because we're going to keep improving, keep learning, and make sure that the people get the treatment they need when they are depressed, when they are addicted, when they have PTSD. We can keep doing the research and also acknowledge the research that's been done. That's when you get good health policy.
And Secretary Kennedy's role, he just doesn't stop. I mean, every day, all day long, until he gets these things done. This is not an easy boulder to push up the hill. And Secretary Kennedy was undaunted, and he'd been talking about it for a while, so he had a passion anyway. But his mentoring that's allowed a lot of folks to move this quickly.
And if I can jump in rapidly, because I was one of those doctors that was not supportive of psychedelic therapy because I thought it was magical thinking. But over the past 6 to 10 years, we have seen an emergence of data that we cannot ignore. These drugs have the capacity, as was mentioned before, with one single administration to change the behavior of someone towards a therapeutic effect. In animal models, one single administration recreates pathways that have been eroded because of pathology. So we have a tool that potentially could allow us to basically manipulate the ability of our own bodies to heal itself, if we know how to properly use it. And that's why research, as I mentioned before, is opening up doors to explore what else can we do, how to optimally use it.
But you're just hearing and seeing automatic research. You're hearing and seeing things now that you wouldn't have really, you wouldn't be able to have done a couple of years ago. I mean, it just seems to me, I've been hearing about it a little bit over the last year. I never heard anything about it in the past. It was almost like taboo. It's not taboo anymore.
And there was not enough science neither. And I think that's where the evidence speaks for itself. And ultimately, that's why I say I was one of those doctors that didn't believe in it. So we do data in order to change our perspective and to do things better.
I was surprised to hear about the antidepressants. I assumed they'd be better. That's not very good. So, Bobby, you're going to push it very hard?
Yes.
We'll get it done? Sounds good to me. Well, these two guys and this third with Rob too and with you. I mean, that to me is research, right? Maybe the ultimate research, right? Big fans, all big fans. Well, I want to thank everybody, and it's going to be... Thank you very much, everybody.